Hello there, everyone. I hope you're well. We're just waiting for a couple of others to join, so we'll give it a few minutes before we get started. Okay, let's get started. First, I want to say thank you to every single person that has joined the call today. It's great to be doing this employer webinar and to present Sparta Global to you all. Just to introduce myself, my name is Kieran and I'm one of the talent managers here at Sparta. My role is to oversee all incoming candidates to our fantastic academy. On today's event, we're going to be having a bit of a deep dive into Sparta Global, what we can offer in terms of kickstarting a career in tech, regardless of where you come from or your background or levels of experience. We've also got some really fantastic speakers today, and one of our lead trainers here at Sparta, Kathy, who'll be talking a bit about her background and what she does in the business, and also a wonderful Spartan, Verona, who has actually been through the program and has been in your shoes. So I'm sure you'll all be very excited to hear a bit more from them later on. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. What we'll be covering on the webinar today is a little bit around technology as an industry, before we then take a bit of a deep dive into what we offer and some of the roles and streams that you could potentially find yourselves doing should you undertake a role in technology. We'll also be arming and equipping you with lots of information around what we're looking for as an employer. This can be highly valuable to your work searches, preparing for interviews, but also for a number of different applications you might be in process with. We'll then move on to the really exciting part, which will be the panel discussion with Catherine and Verona, before we then move into a bit more around our selection process and specifically what our hiring structure looks like. We'll make sure we finish off with some Q&As and any advice as well at the end. So hopefully everybody walks away feeling really comfortable and really well informed. Before we get into that, I'd love to get to know the group here a little bit better. As you can see on the screen, we have a really exciting poll. There are 4 options here. I'm looking to find a little bit about you all, get to know what backgrounds you come from. If you've studied computing, if you're simply just learning to code in your free time perhaps, or maybe you're just completely new to programming and new to tech. And actually you're here today to find out a little bit more and see if it could be something you'd be interested in. So what we're going to be doing, you'll see a poll on your screens very soon, which you'll be able to interact with. Once that's live, you should then be able to select an option and be able to engage in the poll. So I'll just give everybody a moment while that's setting up, and then you should be able to vote. Don't be afraid to be really honest. Fantastic. So once you've voted, you should be able to see the results in the polls. We've got a real nice mixture here from what I can see. We've got a really good mix between people with some experience, some of us learning to code, others from a computer background, and it seems to be really evenly split, which is really exciting. What this really shows me is that you all could be really great potential candidates for us here at Sparta Global, as we have people from all walks of life and levels of ability and understanding join us on the Academy programs. Brilliant. So I wanted to kick off by talking a little bit about the industry, particularly for those of us that are new to tech. This was something I was personally very new to only 4 years ago. And it does take a little while to get your head around. But I think in terms of some of the common misconceptions I certainly had before I started working in tech was some of what you can see here on the screen. I was probably, had a little bit of the imposter syndrome, had some preconceptions about what I might need to have in terms of qualifications and experience before even considering a role in tech, which actually wasn't the reality. Um, I also didn't feel like potentially that we might be able to be as creative in technology-based roles, and the soft skills won't matter as much. And this is something we hear from candidates from time to time. Here at Sparta, we're really passionate about demystifying technology and making it a really exciting and inclusive place for everybody. The reality is of a career in tech, there's a lot of opportunity to get creative, to innovate, to progress, have some really great salaries, and opportunity to work with a multitude of different people from different backgrounds. You don't need to have a background in tech, and you don't necessarily need a background in a STEM subject either. We've got lots of amazing Spartans and internal trainers and staff here at Sparta that have come from all walks of life. So it's a really great sector for anybody that feels that they want to be in a role where they'll get lots of development, opportunities to progress and learn. It can be challenging. It's not easy like most roles, but if you enjoy a challenge and enjoy learning, you could be, within one of these 3,000 Spartans that we've had trained over the last couple of years. As you can see, we've got some really big salaries that you could probably take home. A third year salary on average is around £50,000 for someone after the program here at Sparta. And we've got lots of clients that we could potentially introduce you to post our academy training. So if you have thought about potentially a career in tech, but might have had some of these potential misconceptions, then I'd urge and encourage you guys to continue doing your research and don't be put off by any of these conceptions, because they actually aren't always entirely true. So a little bit more about what we do here at Sparta Global. So we've been around for since I'd say 2014. And as its inception, the business started off focusing on software testing. But over the years, we've really grown to be the only B Corp certified organization in the UK that provides a hire, train and deploy model into technology. Now, what that really means for yourselves is that we're an organization that can help kickstart a career in tech for you and really support you both with that learning and development during academy, but also while you're on client site, really honing in on those skills. We really focus on finding people with a strong attitude and aptitude and the potential to grow. We're a really big community of tech enthusiasts and a really diverse range of people. And we have a really big focus on helping more women into technology as well. In terms of the awards we've won, you can see a couple of them here. We've been the top 75 employer and we've won numerous Women in Tech awards as well. We're also a living wage provider, and as I mentioned, we're a B Corp certified organisation. We're really, really passionate about the social corporate responsibility we have, not only to our candidates, but also to other businesses around us and our environment. And we really want to encourage and bring in more people that share our values and also really want to take away some great learnings from this opportunity. Now, as part of our mission to help get more women into tech, we've actually more recently, over the last year or so, developed what we've called Sparta's Athena Academy. And I'm really excited to say, Kathy actually heads up all the learning for that Athena Academy. So you'll get to hear some exciting stuff about this later on in more depth. But just as an overview, our academies here at Sparta Global have tended to always be mixed, but to support this Women in Tech initiative, we've actually created this all-female academy, cohorts that are exclusive for women in tech or women looking to break into the industry. What we can provide during our academy is a fully remote onboarding and training into your career. We provide a salary during this remote training as well, and there's one-to-one support and guided training throughout. So it's a really great, flexible, collaborative way to learn with other like-minded people in a group setting and to be trained by industry experts such as Kathy. Once you've successfully completed your training here at Sparta Global, regardless of if it's within our mixed groups or an Athena group, you'll then have the pleasure of meeting with a number of our clients before potentially then being deployed to one of them to work on some key innovative projects. So what could you be studying? What kind of skills could you walk away with from Sparta Global? We've got a number of different streams that we run, and they're not just limited to what we've got here on the screen. You'll see hopefully a couple of things that might be familiar, things like data, cybersecurity, but perhaps there are some things on there as well which are fairly new. I'd encourage you all to have a bit of a look and a deep dive into some of these areas. We've got some great collateral on our website that's able to break down the kind of skills you'll learn in each stream and what a day-to-day might look like for each of these roles. We have a fantastic testimonial on this screen as well from one of our other Athena candidates, Ella, who actually completed our data stream. Ella did really well and has gone on to work with some of our key clients. And if you're interested in a role in data, it's definitely something that I think that our training, our academy can support you with, even if it's not something you've necessarily done before. So I urge and encourage you to do your research and have a look at some of these testimonials and our brochure on the website. We've got a number of different modules that you'll cover across our academy. Some of them are a little bit more traditional and covered in every stream. So things like business skills and potentially agile methodologies and other things like that. But we've also got more bespoke modules that you'll cover for each of these streams. And these bespoke modules will be what will make you specialists in your area. One of our great attributes of the Academy is not only is it remote, but we use lots of different blended learning techniques to help you get to the levels that you'll need to be to hit the ground running. And what we mean by this is we appreciate that there are lots of different modes and styles of learning. So we want to actively encourage that. So we utilize group work, independent projects, peer reviews, so on and so forth, to really help each person shine and fulfill their potential. All of these skills that you'll learn during your academy with your peers and with your trainers will set you up for success to launch your career with one of our clients. So you could find yourself after 8 to 10 weeks becoming a Java automation engineer or a data engineer and working for one of our clients such as NatWest or the Home Office. So talking of clients, this gives you a little bit of an overview of just some of the household names that we work with or have worked with in the past. This is not limited to all of our clients. There are a heap of others, but hopefully it gives you a little bit of an appreciation just at how wide the scope is when it comes to the tech industry. It actually transcends verticals. Every kind of business and industry requires technical specialists, whether it's healthcare, oil and gas, government organizations, e-commerce, whatever it might be, even charity organizations. It's a career that has a lot of job security and longevity, and it's going to be highly employable, particularly for the future. As we look at sort of the world at the moment and coming outside or off the back of a pandemic, tech has really shot up to the top of most businesses' lists and priorities. And if it wasn't a priority previously, it definitely is now. So we're bringing on more clients every year that we're in business. So if some of these names are jumping out to you and you think, that could be a great client or a business to have on my CV, Sparta Global could just be that organization to help you get your foot in the door with some of these FTSE businesses. So you're probably thinking now at this point, what does it take to make a great Spartan? If we're not looking for work experience necessarily, what is it that gives someone the aptitude to be able to do these roles? So I'll start off with the softer skills initially. So these skills that you can see here on the screen are our key competencies that we look for, that we believe make a great consultant. A lot of these skills are going to be highly valuable for pretty much any role and any sector. So I definitely would recommend and urge you to think about where you might have been able to show these or how you might be able to talk about them for any interview. It would be really useful. But more specifically for us, we're looking for examples of where you've demonstrated these and for evidence of you being able to deliver on these competencies in a technical setting and in a workplace setting. Being determined, professional, independent, and so on, all these skills are going to support you in your role. You'll have opportunities to work independently as well as in a team. So being able to work off your own initiative is really important. Getting creative and solving problems, it's the bread and butter of what we do here in tech. We're constantly innovating and solving problems. And we really want candidates to foster their creativity and apply that to problem solving situations. Being studious is incredibly important in an environment like tech, where there's so many neat things that you can learn and new technologies and tools coming out all the time. It's really important that we've got candidates who are intellectually curious and hungry for knowledge, want to know how things work. And that curiosity will really support you in both your learning and development in academy, but also your time as a specialist consultant for Sparta. Even when you're on client site, you'll be coming across new projects, new tools, technologies, ways of working, and that will just keep sparking your interest and driving you forward with your career and your progression. The final thing I'd add here is professionalism and communication. Just touching again on those misconceptions. These soft skills can sometimes get a little bit overlooked or put down to the bottom of the priority list. And sometimes in our own minds as candidates, we don't always think employers have them near the top. But actually, tech is a really collaborative industry. No one in technology will be able to do everything on their own. And I'm sure that the speakers today will talk more about this and vouch for that. As a developer or a data engineer or an automation engineer, you'll still have to work with a number of different people. Some of them may be more technically inclined, others may not have the knowledge or the know-how that you do. So being able to communicate with people from all different levels and various backgrounds is incredibly important. So having that ability to communicate clearly with empathy and collaborate with others, it's really, really important. So I'd urge you all to, again, think about these soft skills and think about the skills that you have. You might not have all the technical knowledge and know-how, but that's where we can come in and we can really support you. Another thing I'd like to add around what we look for here at Sparta is we do look for people that have some sort of familiarity or understanding about object-oriented programming. Now, this is particularly important if you're looking to go down a technical route. We have options for candidates that want to be more technical versus candidates that may want to be in a more business tech focused role, such as business analysis. If you are somebody that's interested in going down the technical programming and coding route, and if you were one of those people that mentioned in the poll that you're fairly new to the industry, my advice would be is to start researching some of these key object orientated programming languages, such as Python, C Sharp, and Java. These will be languages that you'll have to become really familiar in, and you will be given a lot of intensive training on these in our academy if successful. However, you will also need to be able to evidence and demonstrate some level of capability already in order for us to be able to successfully build upon that within an 8-week period. So I definitely urge you to look into these and have a play around. There are a lot of great resources out there that are free to use. Whether it's YouTube and you're more of a visual, auditory learner, that's a great place to go. If you're more practical and hands-on, there are lots of great websites and platforms out there, such as Code Wars and Code Camp, that will be able to help you stretch your skills and give you a bit of a practice and a learning into some of these languages. Doing your own research is really going to help you narrow down very quickly what is it that's sparking that inner enthusiasm and interest and what isn't. And from that, you'll then be able to quickly determine which areas and which types of roles you want to focus your upskilling in. It'll be very difficult to upskill in everything in one go. So I definitely would advise follow your passions, try the things you're interested in before moving on and trying something else. And once you've found your affinity, you'll then be able to really hone in on the skills you'll need to go forward for those roles. Fantastic. So I can see we've got a couple of questions coming in, which is great. We'll be talking a bit more about the hiring process as we go throughout the webinar today. For anyone that is struggling to hear, potentially check your settings. I've not had any other messages around others not being able to hear, and I believe Kathy and Verona can hear me okay, so I think you should all be good on our side. I'm sorry to hear you're having troubles there. But yes, just going back to our requirements and what we're looking for. So to add on to those skills in terms of competencies and the coding side, we are looking for some minimum requirements to be able to consider you for our program. We're a national organisation, and as a consultancy, we've got clients all across the country. We recruit on a rolling basis all year round, which means we're always looking to take interest from applicants and potentially looking to place them. Now, by nature of being a consultancy and having clients all across the country, we really require candidates to have flexibility on geographical location. And the reason for this is because we can't always guarantee where we'll be able to place people. So in order to be considered for the program, ideally, we'd need you to be as flexible to relocate as possible and as flexible as possible to be on client site 5 days a week. We're also looking for people as a minimum to have the rights to work in the UK, and also, of course, that passion and enthusiasm for technology and for the wider implications of tech in the world as well. During our process here at Sparta, should your application be successful and you're brought through to the interview stages, this is going to be incredibly important. So going back again to doing your research will actually allow you to be really passionate and talk passionately about your roles that you've applied for and what you know about them, and also to ask confident questions. So that's going to be really important as part of your preparation should you be applying for roles like this and get yourself an interview. So we've talked a lot about, technology and the types of roles that we can offer. Why would you want to start a tech career with Sparta? There's lots of ways to do it. We're not the only organisation out there. However, I do believe we've got some really unique points here and unique offerings we can provide our candidates that make us a really great place to kickstart a career. I mentioned earlier on that we're a massive community. Having people like Kathy and Verona on the call today, I think really just demonstrates how collaborative we are as an organisation and how much we can support each other, but also how much we want to give back to our candidates as well and to potential applicants. So we want to do more things like this, more networking events, more socials, community groups, employer webinars. All of this is to really give back and demystify the industry and help us to work towards our mission of making tech a much more diverse and inclusive place. Alongside this, we provide unprecedented support for all of our applicants and candidates. You'll get loads of support and training during the academy, but also once you've been placed on client site, we don't just forget about you. You are our employee from day one of training, so we have that duty of care. So we'll be in touch with you every step of the way, regular check-ins, making sure that you're getting on well on client site, and supporting you with any extra learning or anything you might need for your progress or development. Alongside your progress and development, one of the key things I'm sure you're all interested to know is how will I be rewarded? You'll get competitive salaries when starting with us and regular salary increases every 6 months rather, while you're on client site with us. This is really exciting. We'll be able to actively measure your performance and reward you with it on a regular basis. So you really do see and feel that progression from the get-go. You'll have an opportunity to be eligible to win awards such as Spartan of the Month and maybe even be featured on our website in our blogs, which is really exciting. Or maybe even come back and do an event like this as an ambassador. Again, another really exciting opportunity. The final thing I'd want to say is the learning and development is really second to none. Not only will you be supported when you're in training, but and on client site, you're going to be given access to Udemy and a whole host of other great learning tools and platforms. So in your own time, around work, dipping in during those pockets of free time, you'll really be able to drive forward your own learning and development. And you won't need to wait for Sparta to give you access or guidance. There'll be a whole host of things there ready for you to deep dive into. So lots of great benefits with Sparta here. We're not just looking to help people get a job, we're really here to help develop you as a person and a technical specialist and give you a career that you can really be proud of and really see your rewards for your efforts. So I think I've said enough. What I'd love to do now is hand over to the wonderful panel. We'll be taking some questions from the audience. I've got some questions of my own as well. So if you haven't yet had a chance to post any questions in the Q&A, now is your chance to do so. So get your questions in. And while we're doing that, we're going to hear some introductions from our wonderful speakers. So I'd like to start off and pass to Dr. Catherine French. Over to you.
Right. Hello, and thank you, Kieran. That was really good and really interesting to hear. I'm Kathy French. I'm one of the lead trainers here at Sparta. I've got particular responsibility for curriculum across the academy. So what you learn, how we structure it, what do you need to succeed when you're on site. I'm currently just started. I've been at Sparta for 4 years now, and I've just started my 5th all-women's cohort as part of the Athena Academy, doing Java test automation. And so test automation is one of the more technical streams that we run. So our trainees are learning all about testing, lots of different aspects of software testing, as well as honing their Java programming skills, and then learning how to make test automation framework with them. It's a really exciting program, and it's really gratifying for me to be teaching the all-women's group. They've got such a range of different backgrounds. So some of them have just finished degrees in computing, or they might have done them a while ago, but or other STEM degrees. So they've got sort of the technical background ready to go into a tech career. Other ones are career changers. They might have had a career break, and they've taught themselves programming or maybe gone to a boot camp or both. So really diverse range of ages, backgrounds, interests, and everything. What they do have in common is, they want to get themselves into that first professional tech job, which, as you all know, is really hard just to get your foot in the door. And particularly if you don't have that badge, I've done, a dedicated computing degree in this area, to convince a potential employer that yes, you do have what it takes, and that's what we're all about at Sparta, is getting you into that position and placing you in that first job. So I've been teaching computing since the turn of the century, literally, and like I said, this is my fifth cohort. I've now taught more women at Sparta than I have in the previous 20 plus years, which is a little bit scary to think about. I wasn't actually originally involved in tech or in computing at all. I actually went to university to study chemistry. And along the way, I learned Fortran programming, and I use that. So we would do experiments and then want to model, our understanding of what's going on. So create models with Fortran, compare them with the experimental results. So that's how I got into programming, and I really enjoyed it. But my first job was in chemistry. I was a chemistry lecturer at Staffordshire University. Demand for chemistry degrees, really went down sort of in the 90s. So I ended up, and demand for computing went way up around the year 2000. I mean, computer scientists were getting huge salaries to go into the field. So at that point, I moved over to teaching computing. So I'm a career changer, just like, a lot of other of you might be. Now, I went in reasonably confident, and then I found out there was loads of things that I didn't know. But the neat thing is that in computing is that there's always, things are always changing. So you might come in and think, oh, everybody knows more than me. But, fast forward another 5 years, everybody's sort of having to pick up things as they go. So I remember I used to teach mobile development, and we made snake type games on Nokia phones. And then somebody came to work one day with an iPhone and said, oh, we need to teach this. And it's like, what is this? So yeah, we ended up sort of teaching lots of mobile development. I ended up as head of the software engineering and games programming group. So again, the kind of things that I was teaching at the end were things that weren't even imagined, the sort of the huge explosion in 3D graphics and games. The changes in how software is made, from very plan-driven approaches to agile approaches, have all sort of happened, and yeah, things will keep changing. That's one thing that's really exciting about having a career in tech. So let's see. I've also spent a little bit of time in industry. So I left the university after 25 years. They reorganized again. And I went off to, first of all, a company that was making financial calculators for when you go and buy a car, sort of working out sort of what type of loan to have for a particular down payment and length of time or whatever, what your payments are. So it was, quite business. Quite different. And one of the things that I found was that, even having been a computing lecturer and designed the curriculum for computing, that what I actually needed in that job was actually quite different. And that sort of shaped the way that I've developed the curriculum here at Sparta. What is it that you need to know that you might not be able to necessarily be able to pick up? The ways of working, the team working particularly, that, with the best will in the world is quite hard to reproduce at university. Okay, let's see. I ended up here at Sparta, and yeah, I'm really pleased that I'm able to sort of take my industrial experience and my academic experience and using it here, which is absolutely brilliant. Now, when I was teaching chemistry, it was sort of majority male, but not so much. Computing is even more so. I have absolutely no idea why more women don't go into computing. I think it's an absolutely brilliant field to go into. Like I said, you're learning new things all the time. You're working with loads of people. I mean, Kieran mentioned earlier that people have got a preconception that, everyone's working on their own, and it's, it's not social, it's not creative. Nothing could be further from the truth. And as Kieran said, the soft skills, the interactions, and so on are really what makes the job. And the creativity. I mean, what could be more creative than making something out of nothing? A system, whether it's a payroll system or a game or whatever, out of thin air, basically, what you have with computing. So, I mean, it's literally changing the way that we do things, the way that we interact with each other, changing the world. And I can't really think of anything that's more creative than that. So anyways, I've talked for long enough. I will hand back. Should I hand over straight to Verona?
Yes, please. Let's hear from Verona. Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Yes, so my name is Verona. I was a part of the Athena Java developer cohort last year, I believe now. It's been quite a while. But yes, I graduated from the course and then got a placement with PA Consulting working at the Home Office where I'm at right now. And I've just passed, I think, the 6-month milestone. So yeah, doing well so far. But yeah, a little bit about me is I graduated from Royal Holloway University in a degree in computer science and cybersecurity. However, I did take like a 6-month travel break. Coming back from that, I was so unsure about what to do next. I knew I wanted to be in tech. I knew I wanted to do something with coding, but like when you're away for so long and you just haven't been in touch with like coding and stuff like that, I was very unsure about what career I should pursue. So stumbling across the opportunity at Sparta was really at the perfect time for me. I read about them, looked them up online. I was like, training for 10 weeks with like industry experts, getting a placement afterwards. It sounds perfect for what I wanted. And passing interview stages, going to the course. Again, at the beginning, I was so unsure about my career path, but really by the end of the 10 weeks, like I had Kathy as my instructor at the time, and she was amazing and learned so much, not just technical skills that I needed, that I also learned a lot of soft skills that I didn't realize that I needed to build up upon. And so I really ended the 10-week course feeling so much more excited and prepared and really ready to get into a tech role. And luckily for me, I think I managed to get my placement during the last week of training. So at the end of the 10 weeks, and I pretty much secured my placement after that. And it was exciting. I was really excited to start. But yeah, I hope I can impart my advice to all of you and answer some questions that you might have, since I've been through it not too long ago now, and I was right where you were standing or sitting about over a year ago now. So yeah, I hope I can help a lot of you guys out. Thanks, Kira.
Thank you so much, both. What wonderful introductions and what wonderful people to have on the call today. Thank you, everyone that's been putting your questions in so far. We've had a nice question here from Pragati, I believe. Thank you. And sorry if I've mispronounced your name. Pragati is actually interested in getting into data and has some great skills in Power BI and SQL. This is a bit of an open question, I think, for both of you, Kathy and Verona. Not being from a computing background, what advice would you have for someone like Brigatti on how they could upskill or get into a data career?
Well, can I answer that one? So looking at your question, it sounds like you're doing everything exactly right. So what do we do on data? We use Python to write scripts to import, clean, do all sorts of things with data. I'm not a data expert, I'm sure you are. And the kind of tools that we use, Power BI and SQL. So where a lot of people come from in data is that they're used to the idea of data. So lots of people with science degrees, or psychology or something, or you do experiments and you know all about the fact that, data will have, range of values, and how to look for the outliers, how to, what format it should be in, what happens, what do you do if it's in the wrong format. When you actually got your data in sort of in good state, how do you visualize it? How can you actually sort of interpret it in order to make decisions? So we've got a couple of streams that use data. So there's the data stream, which is the most obvious one, but we've also developing a business intelligence stream. So sort of using data to make business decisions. And I mean, it's the kind of thing, most people don't have a degree in data. So if you've got that interest through whatever else you've been doing in a related field, that's basically what we're looking for. Hopefully, Kieran, you would agree?
Absolutely. I don't think I could have put it better myself. Verona, did you have any tips for somebody that might not be from a computing background but has already started to dabble in tech and upskill themselves?
Yeah, from looking at your question, sorry, it seems you're doing everything perfectly good. Like you've got in Python, you're learning all this research on your own. I think that's really the best you can do. I think getting into sort of like training programs will really help you boost and upskill those quicker. But you've got a really good foundation as it looks like. So it looks like you're doing the right things.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Verona. We have another question here from Maxine, a little bit more practical. Could either of you give us a bit of a flavour for a day in the life of a Spartan in training? What a normal structure of a day or week might look like. Maybe again, we'll start with yourself, Kathy.
Okay, day in the life. So it is a full-time program, and you're getting a full-time job. So the normal training day is 9 till 5. Normally the first half hour is getting yourself ready sort of for the day, reading over your notes from the day before, perhaps finishing off any homework. Then we start the morning with a stand up. So we might be asking everybody a question based on what we did yesterday. We might be looking at homework, what went well, where you got stuck. And then we'll have lessons for the rest of the day until about 3:30 or 4 with an hour break for lunch. So the type of lessons that we do, they might be, in class like this, but usually not too much sort of me talking all the time, more of a mix of, code alongs, doing things in breakout rooms as a group. And especially as the training goes on, there's more and more you doing things in groups or on your own. And less of listening to me. And so by the time we get to the end, we sort of get everybody together every once in a while and say, okay, do you guys have any questions? Anything I can help you with? And the answer is no. And you feel a bit sort of lost. Everybody knows what they're doing. But at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to prepare you for, so that you don't need us anymore. You're confident in what you're doing. You're confident in finding out where to go next. So in terms of the overall structure, 8 weeks for most of the courses, 10 weeks for the Athena course, because there's usually a broader range of backgrounds coming in there, at least for the test automation. Every week is often a different topic. There'll be an assessment at the end of each week. So it is very intensive, but because basically while we've got a hold of you in the academy, we want to stuff as much into you as possible. And you'll come out sort of thinking, yes, I know loads of things, but also with a million more questions about things that you want to upskill and learn more about, which obviously you have the opportunity to do, when you might have a few weeks before you're placed, and then on your job. That's basically my answer. But Verona might have a different perspective on things.
Yeah, so I think one thing of note about the course structure, which I found really useful, was that having gone through into the placement, all I realized was the course structure of a day-to-day life was pretty much mirrored to what I experienced on a real life basis. So I am in a course every morning. We'll have a stand up, and then we'll do questions and sort of like catch up on what we did yesterday, any blockers we had during on our homework, that sort of stuff. And this directly mirrors what I do right now in my day-to-day life. I stand up in the mornings, go through what I did yesterday, any blockers I had, and having this routine set into me during the course really helped me prepare for what day-to-day life in the actual role would be like. Aside from that, the course itself, even though we had sort of talks and lectures during the day, it really felt very engaging, because a lot of times we were doing sort of code alongs, and even though Kathy might have been talking for 3 hours per se, it really did not feel that way. It felt, because it was so engaging. We were actively participating in the class. Like, it was just very engaging learning. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And as Kathy said, the further along, of course, we went, there was less sort of talks and more just assignments that were given in teams, especially, and that was really helpful as well, learning to work with other people, especially if other people from different backgrounds as well. So you might know less than other people in your group, or you might know more, and there's a lot of collaborative work there.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much, both. Another question, again for both of you. How would you advise somebody best prepared to join our academy or even apply? Maybe, Verona, why don't you kick us off, since you've probably recently done this? But yeah, how best would you advise others get prepared for an opportunity like this?
I think really just it's not necessarily knowing a lot going into it in terms of technical skills. Like, you must have like a good understanding of what programming is, for example. You can't just go into it, what is Java or what is Python. But I think most people in this webinar will have that sort of understanding. I think having passion in what you want to do. The interview process for me, I felt like I got a lot of help from my recruiter. She was very helpful for me. If I had any questions, or wasn't sure on how to answer certain questions in the interview, they prepared me very well. I felt very well prepared from the recruiters at Sparta. And yeah, I think just knowing where your passion lies in coding, and really being able to show that.
Amazing. Really, really good answer there, Verona. And Kathy, from a trainer perspective, what could you advise that people do that would help set them up for success on a program like yours?
Yeah. So yeah, I think like Verona said, it's really important to know where your passion lies. Now, I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to sort of love everything about it, but if you go into a stream to be, say, a C# developer, you're going to be developing programs in C#, day in, day out for the 2 years that you're at Sparta and beyond, which is great. But you need to know whether you actually like programming before you start, and so that's one of the reasons why you do need to have some experience before you start, because otherwise, you might be starting and thinking, well, I don't really like programming, or I can't get my head around it. And those of you that do program know that it's a bit of a Marmite subject. So you want to be one of the ones that like it and want to know more. So what we're looking for is that you do have that basics of knowledge. Now, it depends on the stream. The most sort of software development centric are the developer streams. If you like programming, but you like sort of, having a window into the wider business, the test engineering is absolutely brilliant for that, because you're using your programming knowledge to write tests and to write tools, but you're also sort of your main focus is adding to the value of the product that you're making, by making sure that it does what it's supposed to do. Like we touched on data. So if you've got a data background, and again, you need a bit of programming, because there's a lot of Python scripts in there, but it's that sort of passion for data, understanding what it means, visualizing it, getting insights from it, that is really important. And DevOps, I mean, if you like tinkering with things, so DevOps is all about sort of getting things, things that have been developed by the developers and pass the tests made by the testers, and getting them out in the wild and in front of customers. And cloud computing is a really big part of it. So if you like that kind of infrastructure end of things, that's what we're looking for there. And then, as Kieran said, there's also various business streams as well. So there's a whole spectrum of things. There was something else I was going to say about that. Right. You'll have to come back to me. I'm sure I'll remember later on. I'll pass back.
That's absolutely fine. Thank you so much. We have another interesting question here, again, around sort of certifications and experience. So thank you, Ailing. The question is around what certificates do we need to prove our ability to do programming or coding? And what about if I've only got project experience? So I think I can maybe start this off, and then we can go around to add to it. But in regards to sort of what you'll need to do to prove your capability on the initial recruitment stages, you will need to complete a coding challenge if you're looking to go down a technical route. We'll cover a little bit more about this later on once we've done with the panel discussion. So if you are looking to do a developer stream or go into data, for example, or even automated testing, you'll need to have an ability within Python, Java, or C# to some extent. We're not looking for perfection, but we are looking for that fundamental understanding of the language and the logic behind programming. You don't necessarily need to have experience in the language you wish to be trained in. We do see a lot of transferable skills and transferable logic between them. So if you apply, your talent advisor will be able to discuss with you what your options are for assessment. But I think the best piece of advice is if you are looking to do something technical, then do make sure you've tinkered with object-oriented programming languages to prepare you for those assessments. The last thing I'd say, Ailing, around project experience is great. That is definitely going to be something that's going to be super useful for an interview. You'll have a lot there to talk about and some great examples from your time in those projects of where you can talk about all these competencies that we'd be looking for. So I'd say actually your project experience sounds spot on. But yeah, would anybody else have anything to add, Kathy or Verona, to that?
Just echo what you say. So, I mean, like I said, lots of different backgrounds. Some people do come in with a degree that matches what they're doing, and it's always nice to see that there's surprises. They probably haven't sort of done a lot of version control and unit testing of their programs and things, the industry things that you need. But lots of people coming from other areas. So, I mean, we've had people that have worked as programmers for a few years but don't have any formal qualifications, and they found it really hard to then sort of go to another job. So come to us instead, and it's what we're doing. We think of ourselves as a bit of a finishing school or a polishing school. So you're coming in, with that ability and the aptitude and the want to learn more, and we're getting you in a position so that you can get that first job. And once you've got in there and learning and so on, then nobody will care what kind of background that you have. So yeah, I mean, projects, like say, are absolutely key, and it's for you as well. Like I said, if you sort of you haven't had much experience of something and you try it and you don't like it, that's going to knock your confidence. It's not going to be good. Even if you do get placed doing it, you're going to hate it. So we do need you to demonstrate a certain level of ability from whatever route before you come in. That's me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kathy. And no problem, Ailing. I'm glad that was helpful. Thank you. Lots of great questions. I think we've got time for maybe one more. So yeah, sorry if other people haven't had a chance to have their questions answered. There's definitely lots of information on our website. We've got also a really handy Q&A or an FAQ section, which goes through some of our key sort of frequently asked questions. So do feel free to take a gander on there, and you should be able to apply on our careers page and drop us a message via the contact us button should you have any other questions that maybe aren't answered on the website. So yeah, a final question, more for Verona, but actually I'd love to hear from both of you. I think we all would. What's the best part of your job? What's the best thing about working in technology? Verona, over to you.
For me, the best part, honestly, is being able to collaborate with very like-minded people. So for me, the team that I was placed with, I was very lucky that my team is amazing. They're also, they all love to express what they do, and they really help me along. And working with these sort of people who love what they do, or love to embark their knowledge onto you, and you just learn so much, and it's such a rewarding experience. And I love the collaborative aspects of programming, and has really, I think the course itself has really set me up for that as well. But yeah, I would love to know what Kathy would has to say on this.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. I think my answer is that I've never been bored in my career. I'm fairly old, so it's quite a long career. And things are always changing. There's always new things to learn. There's new problems to solve, and it's a lot of jobs aren't like that. So, I mean, even if you're sort of a bit bored with what you're doing now, you go into a different field, something else that new is coming along. It's just, one thing after another. It is a steep learning curve, but that's what makes it exciting. And so, yeah, you use your brain, you solve problems. And so, I mean, I don't see why everybody doesn't want to go into computing. Like I said, I started off in chemistry because I was interested and curious about sciences, but there's not that many opportunities there compared to in software development and various other areas of tech. So yeah, you'll never be bored. You're unlikely to not to be unemployed. I mean, that was a big thing when the reason why I moved from chemistry to computing in the first place was because all the chemists were being made redundant. And so, yeah, the opportunities for software were just so much better. So yeah, it's flexible. There's because there are opportunities out there. If you change your mind, go off and work for someone else. That's completely normal. So yeah, I would recommend it to everybody. And why more women don't get into tech, I have no idea, because it's just a wonderful place to be.
Thank you, Kathy. What a lovely way to finish the panel. Really appreciate both of your times and all the answers to the questions. And again, sorry to those of you who didn't get around to getting your questions answered. What I'd love to do now is just wrap up the session with a couple of points on our selection process. I know that a couple of our questions have been around this, so hopefully this should answer those. For our process here at Sparta, we have a very quick and easy online application. There are just a few simple questions that you'll need to answer on a form and then attach one document, which is your CV. What I would definitely encourage people or I'd say to people is don't worry too much about your CV. We are a really inclusive employer and we don't actually look at your CV until you've got to sort of the next stage. We are basically looking for the aptitude and the attitude. And as long as you've got those and you've got some programming experience, if you're going into a technical role, you're going to be somebody that we would want to talk to, if not now, in the near future. Your CV may not be perfect, but that's what we're good at doing, is helping you with those business skills. So even if it's not in the right state, but you know you've got the skills and you can showcase them on the CV, even if it's not in the prettiest format, don't worry, because we'll be able to see those. We'll be able to help you put them into a better format through the training. If your application is successful on the review stage, once you've submitted it, you'll then be invited to a telephone interview. Now, this is going to be a 20 to 30-minute discussion around your motivations, transferable skills, and your understanding of the program. So do be aware, if you get selected for a telephone interview, you'll need to be prepared to talk about what you understand about the role you've applied to and of Sparta. If you're still fairly new in your journey, I would definitely recommend utilising all the collateral and the information available online, and you'll feel more than prepared to discuss yourself and what you know and still be able to ask questions. That's still absolutely fine, but we do want to see some level of understanding on that telephone interview as well, or at least the aptitude to want to understand. After this telephone interview, if you're successful on that call, you'll then be invited to complete some online assessments for us. This will include a psychometric as a minimum. Everybody completes a psychometric assessment, and then you'll be doing a coding challenge if you're going down a technical stream. So this could be, as mentioned, a Java, a C# or a Python programming challenge. So if you're looking to go into something like data, automated testing, development, anything technical that requires programming, the best piece of advice now is to start looking into those languages if you haven't already. Once you've successfully passed those online assessments, you'll then be progressed to a final stage video interview with hopefully a very nice person like myself, and then you'll be in a position to get feedback within 48 hours. So we like to make sure that we come back to everyone pretty quickly and can give you the pointers you need, especially if it's not going to be a role with us. We want to give you all the support to be your best self going forwards. A final few bits of advice from me as a career coach and someone here in academy in talent. I would definitely recommend that you do your research. One thing we find with candidates, what lets them down at the early stages, is not having the research, and that can really slow down your process. It can mean that it gets put on hold, or you go away to do more research, come back, and you might need to reschedule that telephone interview if you're not prepared. So if you are applying to roles, and I'd say this goes for any application, make sure you're prepared to do an interview once you've submitted that application. Be prepared to talk about yourself. I think this is something that we can all struggle with. I know I have in the past. It doesn't seem to get easier the older I get, which is very strange. It can feel a bit unnatural to talk about oneself, but in an interview, it's probably the most important thing, is being able to introduce yourself in a really clear, engaging way, but also to be able to discuss short and long-term goals. You want to be able to be confident about this and show your enthusiasm. Those are the things that we can't teach. Those are the things that just come naturally to people. So if you can do those, you're already halfway there, which is really important. The second half of interviews is always around those competency questions and the behaviours. If you don't know what the STAR or the CAR method is, it's definitely something, again, that I'd encourage you guys to look at. It's a really great way of telling stories in an interview without going off on a tangent. It really helps you stick to a structure and make clear points, which is key when you're in a very short, time pressured environment like an interview, to get all the valuable stuff across in a clear way. Final things, smile, be inquisitive, enthusiastic. Really consider your professional perception, both how you come across on camera, if it's a video interview, lighting, environment, background, but then in person, think about how you physically presented yourself, how you're articulating yourself, and really put your best foot forward. And just remember, we're all normal people. We've all been in your shoes. As nerve-wracking as it can be, we just really want to get to know you. And those would be my main pieces of advice. That's everything from me. Kathy or Verona, do you have any final pieces of wisdom or nuggets of advice for our audience today?
Trying to think. Yeah, just go for it, basically. So yeah, the first step is the hardest, getting into your career. Once you get going, then everything that you do helps you along the way. And in fact, I suppose that's the other piece of advice, is everything that you've done so far leading up to this point is really useful as well. So you might think, oh gosh, I was working in a pet store for 3 years. What does that have to do with tech? Well, it has to do with a lot. You've dealt with customers, both sort of pets and people, and awkward situations and problem solving and everything else. So, I mean, and often, you might have a degree in physics, say, and you think, oh, I'm never going to do physics again because I've decided to go into tech. And then 5 years later, you find that you're working in an engineering company, and those physics skills are coming back to you. So, you never say goodbye to anything. Everything is made you brought you to where you are now, and it'll help you in your journey in the future. Yeah, best of luck with best wishes for everybody in your future career.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Verona, any final words from yourself at all?
Yeah, just like Kathy said, no matter how small you think your background, like what you've done in the past, is all relevant. Everything you've done up to now is relevant for if you want to go into tech, and nothing you've not done not enough, or you think you've not got enough experience in certain fields. No matter what field you've been in, it's definitely all adding up to it. It's never not enough, I would say. But yeah, I think from everyone's questions I've seen, you just got to go for it. You just got to get your foot in the door and just go for it. There's not too much thinking behind it. Just, yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
that's not
much.
everyone who's looking to get into tech.
Thank you so much, both. And Verona, what a great way to end it. Yeah, don't overthink it. Trust your gut and just go for it. I really like that. Well, thank you very, very much, everybody. That brings us to the end of the session, and we're pretty much bang on an hour, which has been great. I really appreciate everyone's time and attention today for the full hour. It's been great to be able to share some knowledge and some wisdom with you all, and hopefully leave you all feeling really inspired and really comfortable and confident that this is something you should be considering quite seriously. Do have a think and don't rule yourself out before you've given yourself the opportunity to talk to businesses and apply. We do hope that you have a look on our website, do have a look at our talent brochures, our roles, our testimonials, our blogs, the FAQ, and if you are interested, do apply, and we'll be in touch very soon if you've been successful. But again, thank you very much, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.